Hello everyone, Republic Jim here. It's the 1st of February and it's raining, which is just stupid for this time of year in Republic. However, over the weekend we had a pretty good amount of snow. It was relatively warm, so it was wet snow, but nonetheless we got a good amount of fresh snow, so I took advantage of it to get out on our acreage and have an overnight camp out and just practice some of my outdoor skills, fire starting and shelter building and such. And got a chance to hook on a sled behind me and tow it up the hill with snowshoes on and all of that sort of stuff. So without further ado, I'll just jump right into it. So I'm heading out onto the property in the upper part of our acreage to do an overnight camp out in the snow. Got my sled loaded up. I've pulled it part way so far, but just stopped to collect up some birch bark for fire and get a bit of a water break before I start up the hill, because it's about 150-foot climb with switchbacks, which normally is not a big deal, but on snowshoes and pulling a heavy sled in the snow, it's kind of difficult. So I'm just going slow and trying not to wear myself out too quickly. I still need to get up to the campsite and then set up and cut firewood and everything else, so it'll be a gradual process, but on my way. I'm going to hook back up to the sled and get moving. Okay, just taking a quick break to catch my wind. I'm most of the way up the hill. Came from there, down at that end, then it switches back and goes back down over there. I've come up quite a ways already. I just have to go right up here, up to that little saddle there, and that's the top, and then it's actually downhill a little bit through the brush and stuff to where my campsite is. So I've got most of the really hard work out of the way. That thing's definitely taken it out of me since I haven't done this yet this year. This is my first time, only my second time on snowshoes, so haven't quite got the conditioning up there yet for snowshoeing and pulling a sled, but getting there. So anyway, as soon as I stop breathing quite as much, then I'll make the final assault on the summit there and get over to my campsite and start getting set up. Well, I made it to my home for the night. Nice little cozy opening here in the trees that has a fair amount of cover over it. So there's just some snow drifting down here, not a real thick layer. Doesn't look like much yet, but I'll get to work and make myself at home, and pretty soon it'll be really cozy. And I've got a really warm sleeping bag, so I could spend the night in these temperatures without even needing a fire, but I'll go ahead and make a fire anyway just for the practice and so I can cook my dinner on it. And anyway, obviously I don't have any light to work with anymore other than battery powered, so I need to quit jawing and get busy with setting things up, and I'll get back to you in a little while. Okay, I have a very basic tarp shelter set up. There's really no wind and I'm pretty well sheltered by the trees, so I'm not too worried about doing anything too complex or anything, just something to keep the snow from coming down on me. And I do have a couple of other tarps that I can set up if I need to, smaller ones, but I could make some sides on that if necessary, but for now that'll do it. So now it's time for me to grab the saw and go out and find some stuff to make my sleeping platform, and I'll put a fire right out in here, and so I'll be dragging that stuff back and getting my little homestead ready for the night. Alright, it's starting to look a little more like camp. I rounded up enough chunks of wood there to build a small Siberian log fire, and fortunately found a big stump not too far away that had some decent bark and punk wood to set down there for a base. And I just have a kind of a rough assortment of other dead wood, most of it covered in snow, but as long as I get enough dry stuff and my birch bark and everything to get things started, then I can dry the other stuff out and get that built up. And then I also cut a couple of short rounds and some longer pieces to make my sleeping platform frame. So I'm going to see about getting the fire started first, and then while I'm tending that, then I can start working at setting up my frame and getting my bed ready. So, and then hopefully at some point, once I get the fire going enough, then I can heat up some water and get my dinner going. I've been snacking and such as I go because I've burned a lot of energy cutting this stuff. But I will say that everyone that's commented about the Silky Katana Boy 500, they are right. That thing is definitely awesome. Those are some reasonable diameter logs there, and you know, like 6 to 8 inch, and just chewed right through them with that thing without any real trouble. But I was already tired out from a long week and assorted other things, and then dragging the sled up the hill, so it's a little harder than it should have been. But you know, I'm ready to get things rolling here and hopefully get back with an update once I have my dinner heating up or something. It's about 8:30 now. Got my sleeping platform made and waiting for my sleeping pad to inflate a little bit there, and then I'll top it up and get my sleeping bag on it and get the fire going nicely, and water heating up on there, getting ready to have some dinner fairly soon. And we'll still have to get a bunch of snow off of some of these other chunks of wood and dry them out a bit, but not that I really need to keep the fire going at night anyway. And you can probably hear one of the downsides to that is it's not actually raining, but all the snow is falling off the trees up above. So I had to make sure to keep my sled covered up and keep everything under the tarp there. And we'll see how it goes tonight. If the wind kicks up, I'll probably still put a tarp on the side over here just to block, you know, in case any snow comes dripping in or anything. The forecast says it might snow some more tonight, so we'll see about that. But anyway, hopefully it won't be too much longer before my water boils and I'll be ready to eat. Meantime, I'm going to get back to getting my sleeping pad ready and getting the bag out and everything. And then after I eat, I'll chop up a bunch more wood to have ready to go. And by that time, I'll be ready to pack it in for the night. I have my gourmet dinner there just sitting. I have to wait a few more minutes before it's ready. Get my sleeping bag out. I'm ready to eat, and then, like I said, I still have to get some of this other wood lopped up a bit and let it dry a little. So I'll move the cooking grate out of the way and move some of that further up on the logs there, and give them a chance to melt the snow off and dry out, and stoke up the fire a bit before I go to bed. But I was able to shed some of the gear I've been packing around all day. And over there on the tree you can see the harness I used to drag the sled up the hill, and I'll be using tomorrow to haul it back down. The fire's dying down to where it's just good coals right now. Not a whole lot of active flame, but That puts out a great deal of radiant heat, and it's very comfortable. Just sitting over here on the sleeping bag, I'm not even wearing a coat. It's just a long sleeve undershirt, and yeah, it's pretty comfortable as long as the tarp doesn't let too much water drip on me. And should be just about ready to have my dinner there. Looking forward to that. I've been snacking on jerky and drinking lots of water and trying to stay hydrated after all the heavy exertion. But it's been a fun time so far. I can hear coyotes relatively close yipping away, but they haven't come over this way, and if they do, I can certainly discourage them. So hopefully I'll be able to get a decent night's sleep and just pack things up and head back down to the house tomorrow. But I'll check in later. Hey everyone, it's 2:18 and it's snowing lightly but steadily, like it has been for a while. I woke up to the sound of the bottom log burning completely through and the top logs falling down. So now those ones, instead of resting on the bottom log, are just laying on the ground. And I had to scramble to get some of my other stuff moved back out of the way so that it didn't all just catch fire, because the thing was going to really take off. So I just threw a couple other things on top of the fire, and as you can see, it's burning nicely anyway. Still putting out plenty of heat. Not that it really matters, because this sleeping bag is so warm, and I put that over my feet there to keep the bottom of the bag dry, and covered up the sled with that tarp, which turned out to be a good idea. There's a lot of dripping going on, but everything right in here is dry, and I'm staying plenty warm, and so I really don't need the fire, but it is kind of nice anyway, especially if any animals were to come around. It helps to discourage them, although it's putting out a bit of smoke at the moment. So I'm going to crawl back into my sleeping bag and down there close to the ground. I don't get the smoke, and I'm going to try and go back to sleep and get a little more rest before I actually get up and make some coffee and such, and hopefully that will go okay and I can pick up some more sleep. So, talk to you later. Good morning. Sunday morning, about 7:15. I just got up and rekindled the fire. Got my socks and boots and everything back on. Kind of getting ready to get a start to the day. I'm going to get the fire organized a little better and put my grate on there and then make some coffee. And I'll be about ready to pack up some stuff and head back to the house and get ready for church. Looks like it's snowing pretty steady right now. And even though it sounds like it's raining here under my tarp, that's actually just snow melting off the trees up above and pounding down. I heard that quite a bit of the night, but it was just snowing. But of course, with the heat that the fire's putting out, it knocks all that stuff off the branches. So you can tell that the fire's doing pretty well right now. But I don't know if you can see on camera out there through the trees, but that's just snow that's coming down hard at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to get that dealt with and get the coffee started, because I'd really like to have some of that, and I will continue later. The coffee pot just started perking, so I'll be able to have some coffee in a few minutes. That's a nice thing to see. Love the sound of that when it first starts perking. And really looking forward to having a good cup of coffee this morning, actually several, and just starting to work at getting some stuff packed up and ready to head out. It's snowing even harder now. I guess it doesn't really show up on camera quite how heavy it's coming down right now, but you can see how much the trees are covered. And it's all fairly wet, heavy snow, so it should be rather slushy and make for really slow slogging through the snow there. But once I get caffeinated, I'll be ready to tackle that little task and make the trek back down to the house. It's kind of funny that I'm only about 1/10 of a mile from the house as the crow flies, but with the switchback road, and it ends up being somewhere more like a 1/2 to 1/4 mile half to 3/4 of a mile just to get back to the house. And of course, nowhere near as easy as the crow flying, but it's fun anyway. So I'm gonna be looking forward to getting a hot shower when I do get back home, though. But I'm gonna take my coffee off here in just a couple minutes and enjoy that, and then head out. I think I'll wrap up the filming with that and not waste any more time once I start breaking camp. So that's it for now. It's been Republic Jim. Talk to you later.